Hi, and welcome to another episode of R&R. I am your humble host, DKS3A. And last week, we talked about Microsoft and things that they've done wrong in the past, like the acquirement of Rare, and making the game shitty from when Rare used to be really good. Two things that they're doing wrong now, to being a little greedy and wanting everything to come out first on their system. Two things they might be doing in the future, like making the new Xbox 720, all only online. This week, we're going to talk about something that happened to me recently, or something that I've noticed recently, that I see that's starting to happen quite more often, and that's people overpricing things online, like on Amazon or eBay or anything like that. Now, I'm starting to try to collect my video game collection's really starting to expand, and I'm starting to collect some of my old school games, trying to get all my Final Fantasy games back up, and you know, some older games that I really liked when I was a kid, and trying to build my collection back up. Well, also I got online on Amazon to check out Final Fantasy 1 for the NES, you know, because I'm going to start collecting all the Final Fantasy games again to actually have in my possession. I got most of them, but anyway. And when I typed in on Amazon, there was some of them that was like $17, $14, $12, you know, most of them were at average price, decent price. And then there was one that was boxed, sealed. Still the box, $600 fucking dollars. Really. They want $600 for a game that's relatively common. I mean, it's not common, but relatively common. And what, a box is worth like $500? Alright, boxed and sealed, but $500 really? Who in their fucking right mind would pay $500, $600 for an NES game? I mean, sure sure it's boxed, but the loose cartridge you can get for $17. I mean, I'd rather get the loose cartridge and maybe find like maybe get my print out my own manual or something like that and have one for, you know, later. But who in their right mind would pay $600 for a game? I mean, if they would lower the price down, like maybe to like $50 for a box sealed, then yeah, that would be a nice price. But $500, $600? Who in the fuck would pay that much? And I've seen some even worse instances. I can't remember which game it was, but I was looking on Amazon and there was like something like boxed and sealed, an old NES game, and I took the price, $25,000 fucking dollars. The dude's a fucking idiot, or the chick, or the person's a fucking idiot for thinking that they're gonna sell a game for $25,000, and whoever fucking buys that is a fucking idiot too. It's people like that that are causing old school gaming to have a hard time selling stuff, because people are going to look at the price, $20,000, yeah, hell, even $500 per game. You're not going to want to buy these old school games and all the NES, Super Nintendo, unless you grew up in that era and all kind of stuff. These kids these days are going to not know the wonderful times we adults had with new Super Nintendo, regular Nintendo, because everything's so fucking expensive online. It's causing everything to go up in price, which is getting harder and harder for things to afford. I mean, I just had a retro video game store open up next county over in Biloxi, called Just for Pay. I took a look around there. They got some really, really good stuff, but everything's so overpriced. And I think the reason why is because they're basing some of that stuff off of eBay or Amazon or that kind of stuff. Old school Nintendo was $70. Alright, it may not be too bad, but I bought mine for $5. Flea market, but whatever. $5. I mean, $70 for an old school NES. You can probably find one online for cheaper, or a flea market for a whole hell of a lot cheaper than $70. Some of the games were $30, $40, $50, and they weren't even boxed. But they did have some rare stuff too. But the point is that some of these retro video game stores are opening up are basing some of their prices and stuff off of Amazon or eBay or stuff online, and they're really, really overpricing things because Amazon's overpricing things or eBay's overpricing things. It's causing the prices to go higher for the retro market. It's just making it a lot harder for people like me who don't make a whole shitload of money to buy stuff because I was from the NES era. I was born in '84, but different story. I was born in the NES era. I got my first NES when I was 3 years old. But anyway, it's getting stuff harder. It's getting harder and harder for me to get like games and accessories and stuff like that I want to get for my Nintendo or Super Nintendo or Sega Genesis shit that I have, because everything's so fucking expensive. If they would just be reasonable. Sorry, I dropped my mic there. If they would be reasonable and keep the prices at, you know, reasonable prices, because nobody's gonna fucking buy a game for $25,000, and if they do, they're a fucking idiot. $25,000 is more than I'm making a fucking entire year. But bottom line is, if they would just keep the prices more reasonable, like $50 for, I think the most expensive you can buy, you should be able to buy an NES games, maybe, I mean, I can see $500 for like a really rare game like Nintendo World Championship or something like that. I can understand that, but for more common games or games that are not as rare, $50 maximum, and that's boxed. Depends what game it is and stuff like that, but if they can just lower the price and keep the prices reasonable on Amazon and eBay, some of these retro stores will lower their prices because they're basing it off of Amazon and stuff like that. And retro gaming would sell a lot better, and retro gaming would be a lot more booming, and I think it would be very popular. And these kids in the next generation from us, like kids born in like late 90s, 2000s, I'm talking about my generation, we already know, but would experience probably more old school games and probably realize what we went through when we were growing up. I mean, what we had when we grew up and how much fun some of these games are, and realize that graphics and stuff like that's not everything. It's all about the fun and gameplay. They can see what kind of graphics we had growing up, and don't be and stuff. But they just need Amazon, eBay, and all kind of stuff need to really focus on keeping their prices under control and don't price gouge, because it's hurting everything. Alright, last week I asked which one was better, Xbox or PlayStation 2. I got a couple Xboxes for the most part. I mean, most of them, but majority people said PS2, and I agree. I'm a PS2 guy. In fact, most of my collection right now, a big portion of my video game collection is PlayStation 2 games. I like the PlayStation 2. I love Final Fantasy 10, 12. Bunch of the really good games came out of PlayStation 2, and which is why PlayStation 2 dominated the market with the Xbox and the Gamecube. And speaking of Gamecube, I want to do two Nintendo's systems for this one. Which one is better, Nintendo 64 or the Gamecube? Leave comments and answers down below. And this has been another episode of R&R. I am your host, DKS3A, and I will see you next week. Have a good day.